closest friend around is on the ground. It's time to help him up and bring him back around. I can hear my grandma say it to this day. It's time to go live life well.
Hi everyone, you're listening to Bridgette McCoy with Go Live Life Well, which is with exuberance, love, and laughter.
It's time to go live life well. We joined this episode, already in progress, entitled, Do I Like Green Beans?
Because I think the hard part for me sometimes is like I come up with a concept and then I don't like flesh it out. It's kind of like, ministry, when you get a word from God and you hear what he's saying, but you can't just be like, okay, today's topic is think differently. Go to third Philippians on 27 chapter, whatever, and read 2 words and be like, all right, so everybody go think differently. You know what I'm saying? You have to flesh it out because there's so many different aspects. Anything that you get from God is not going to have one aspect. It's going to be multifaceted. You're going to see different levels and different layers within what you're saying. And depending on the audience, each person is going to get something different. And so with think, you know what I'm saying? So with think differently, the challenge for somebody who's you're a transformational leader. That's what I was saying. Being a transformational leader and then speaking from a different dimension and talking to people from a holistic point of view, because you're not just saying spiritually transforming them spiritually. You're not saying emotionally. You're not saying psychologically. You're not saying financially. You're talking on all of these different levels. So it's not just, it's intersectional. It's on different topics because that one topic creates this space for all of these other areas to be transformed. So you get this holistic movement in life so that everybody's balanced. But the thinking different part is you have, when you come into a space and you start talking about telling people to think different, you can't just say that. You have to give them like the tools. Because what I was saying earlier is what I see is that you give all of this information and you see them coming along with you to that next dimension. But then when you close your mouth, they just kind of deflate and go back to where they were. And it's like, no, you had all this stuff. How are you not going, what's happening? Why would you go back versus moving forward? Well, it's comfortable. You know what that feels like. You know what that looks like. You don't have to. Thinking differently requires you to sit in a room by yourself and just think about things. Do I like green beans? I always joke about that. Because the first realization that I had after I had my first realization was, like, I've been eating certain food my whole life. Do I even like that food? Why am I eating that? Let me see. Do I like green beans? Okay. Do I like spinach? Okay. Do I like meat? Do I like vegetables? I had to start from scratch. And each iteration of myself, I have to do that. It's like, okay, I know in third dimension Bridgette likes this. Does fifth dimension Bridgette like this? No. But you see where I'm going with that? At each place you have to reevaluate because there are some things that will fall away. And you don't want to keep bringing them back. And I think that that's what happens to people when they hear a transformational message and they go backwards. In order to move forward, it's kind of like the children in the desert. They brought a whole bunch of crap with them. It's like you moving, right? You're going to bring all that crap. And every time you move, you're going to pack up all that stuff and take it with you? No, at some point you have to be like, this is not important to me. I'm leaving this in the desert. This is not important either. Think about every time that that God came, filled the cloud, and they said, let the children arise, and follow the cloud. And they had to pack up all their stuff and move, right? They did that over 4 decades. So at some point, some of that stuff is not important to you anymore. It's not important to you anymore. It's no longer important. Relationships are like that too, because they create space for you to stay. It's like I was saying before, you have to, talking to somebody in this other dimension, you have to keep that space open, and that's a lot of work. It's like you moving these 3, 4, 5 places. What if you kept all of them places open? That's a lot of work, because you got to clean them, you got to maintain them, you got to go pay the bills for it, you got to make sure ain't nobody tore up nothing, there's no damage. Okay, so what is that giving to you? Now, is it giving you something like, oh, well, I have a place on the west side, I have a place on the east side, I have a place in 2 states. I need that because I'm always moving and I'm always in and out of here, and I got to do that way. But if you're not, why? What's the purpose of that space being open? And that's what relationships are. I mean, from a dimensional point of view, it seems that they are space. They are openings in our life that we can move in and out of with other people. And it's not benefiting either party. Because if you're conflicted in that relationship, the other person is too. They might not be saying nothing, but they conflicted too. So some of it is like letting go of things. And it's not to say forever. It's not to say that the relationship will never, because we are in and out of these different dimensions. You don't know. They may be in the 8th dimension and you still in the 6th. I mean, you know what I'm saying? At some point it may shift. But you got to give each other the space to close some of those places down that are not being used efficiently or effectively so that people can grow. Some of it isn't about just leaving somebody behind or not doing something. Some of it is about letting people grow. You can't expect it to shift just because you shifted. If that person, I realized that. I mean, I realized at the last trip to California, one of my friends, longtime friends, 30-something years of friendship. We're still friends, but I had to let him know this is going to shift. How we've interacted with one another in the past is inappropriate. We can't interact that way anymore. People get attached to the energy that you bring, energy and space that you bring of comfort, of information, of resource, of making them feel needed. People get attached to that. And they may not bring nothing to it. I'm not saying in this situation they don't, but they may not bring anything to it. They may be just getting from it, and they love that feeling. And they don't want to lose it, so they're going to keep the lines of communication open and keep that relationship open so that they have access. Because it's really not about the relationship as much as it is access. And see, this is where we get into the intersection of us talking about the women veteran. A lot of women veteran, like you say, the looky-loos, they stay connected because they want access. They want access to the information. They want access to the resources. They want access, but they are not going to do anything with it. They don't have any intention of doing anything. And like I told someone, I'm okay with consumers. This world is built up off of creators and consumers. And the creators have to have consumers to create things, because you can create things and just sit in a closet somewhere. But if you're going to write a book, you need consumers. If you're going to create a new brand of something, a new fingernail polish or whatever, you need people who are going to buy it. But the people that you invest your time in, and Jack Welch, even though he wasn't the greatest person, said this. He said you give 80% of your time to the 20% of the people who are going to do something. And that's why I give my 20% to ambassadors. That's why I do it. Because you all are the hands and feet. You're the ministry leaders. You're the lay ministers who are out in touching people's lives and things like that. And so I know that the impact that I have is going to be, exponential, because I'm part of y'all's lives, not just casually, but because I'm part of your lives as friends and peers and all of that. We sharpen one another. We cover one another. You know what I'm saying? So it's not this one way thing. Where with consumers, it's one way to some degree. You create something, they show up and they, yay, we like it. And whether they do something with it or not, you can't be beholden to that. You know what I'm saying? Like I would beat myself up because I was like, oh, I'm doing all this stuff. I'm putting all this stuff out here. I got all this stuff for these people, and they're not moving into leadership. They're not getting into these roles, and da-da-da. And I had to think about it. Everybody don't want that. Some people just want to be there to see it and be like, yay. And we need people to be there and clap and say, yay. We do. So historically, we can go back to biblical days and find people who were hired to come and grieve with the family. So if we had people that was hired to come and grieve with the family, they got to have people who come and just clap. Yay! That's what they are. Yay, go team, go. Go team, go. Go team, go. What I'm going through doesn't need medicine. It's just a different area of understanding. And the way that I'm operating is not just me. There's other people who are on this vibration, who are on this path. We just not all huddled together in other dimensions where everybody's all huddled together and you can look to your left or right and see a bunch of people. It's just far and fewer between. And so in this process, it feels like I'm alone, but I'm not alone. This is Bridgette McCoy, and you are listening to Go Live Life Well. Tune in every week to learn ways to live with exuberance, love, and laughter.